Welcome to the Dawgs Table. Hosted by Craig Fountain and Jared Fatty Bates. Get access to special guests, anyone can join the Dawgs Table. Find the link to join the show in the comments when we go live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Periscope, and everywhere on the BIGPLAY network. Here's your hosts, Craig Fountain and Jared Fatty Bates.
Oh, I've made a habit out of doing that. Welcome to the Browns Table. Let's try this again. It's my first day. I'm your host, Craig Fountain. Jared is under the weather, and he will not be joining us tonight, but we have all kinds of stuff to talk about tonight. We have the preseason game, position battles, roster cuts, all these things coming up, along with our City Dogs of Cleveland Dogs of the Week, our weekly Twitter poll. And who do we have in the comments? No audio. Mike is muted. Oh, man. You guys caught me. It's my first day. Just kidding. But we are the Dawgs Table. Thanks for everybody for tuning in so far. And we can display your comments just like this. So comment on the post. We can conversate through the comments, or you can click the link in the comments. It is a StreamYard link. You click that link, it'll come in. And you can video chat with us or audio chat with us. The whole point of the show is it's a roundtable discussion for fans. So it's not for me to talk as much as it is for you to come on and talk with us. So with that being said, we're going to start with this week's weekly Twitter poll. Here we go. All right, so on Twitter, we asked you guys this week, which Browns wide receiver will finish with the most receiving yards this season? We have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or you could choose somebody else in the comments. But, this is interesting. Last week, for our last episode, we asked about the tight end group. David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, Austin Hooper, who's going to have the most receiving yards. And we got some interesting opinions, interesting feedback. Make sure you guys comment which way you voted or which way you would have voted if you're not on Twitter. So OBJ, he's coming back from this major injury. The way he's going to work into this offense certainly is going to have something to do with it. This is kind of my train of thought when I'm looking at this question. He's going to be working his way back in. We have to find that rhythm that Baker found with the other wide receivers last year. As the season went on, they got so much better. What could have been or what couldn't have been if OBJ was involved? He's a polarizing figure. We have definitely two sides of the fence with this argument. Some people want him on the team. Some people don't. Jarvis Landry, the passion, the heart and soul of this team. Many credit him with the turnaround, and he's just Mr. Dependable. He's certainly he gets a lot of targets. He gets a lot of receptions. He catches a lot of balls, but he's not a yards after the catch guy. Never has been, but he really comes through when it matters. Now, one of the most polarizing players of this year's camp is Donovan Peoples-Jones. And it's kind of a feel-good story, and he was a late-round draft pick. There was some competition last year. He started coming on in the middle to the end of the year, and this guy is talented. Urban Meyer said, hey, if I would have had this guy at Ohio State, he would have been a top 10 draft pick. The talent's there. The maturation is happening. He's growing, and he has the potential to be the outside threat, the deep threat that we need. And in that role, he can rack up a ton of receiving yards. Tim's going with Odell. Let's see your guys' comments. Who are you guys going with? And then we will reveal the results. We normally play a game for our weekly Twitter poll. We normally go through, and whoever's on the show, they kind of give their opinion. And I don't have Fatty tonight to bounce ideas off of, but the other game we play with guests is who do you think won the poll if you haven't seen the results? So that's something that we normally do too. Norman and Njoku is going to show out with targets. How much of a target share is he going to take away from Jarvis, though? Is he going to eat into the targets? Because we are talking about wide receivers, remember. We did tight ends last week. Roger, you're going with Odell. Norman, OBJ, most receiving yards. All right, so far, Odell in the comments is who's winning this. All right. Justin Masters, I'm thinking this will be a breakout year for Peoples-Jones. I 100% agree with you. I'm almost hoping there's not a whole lot of targets to go around, right? Like if we're pounding the rock, then we're doing something right. You know what I mean? So if we're running the ball, we're not going to have all those targets to spread around. Red zone and down the seam. Norman, there it is. And, there's going to be some interesting plays out of the backfield this year, too. We might see more involvement from some of these utility players, which is something else we're going to talk about tonight. How the utility is key for some of these bubble players. And some of these guys like Felton, Dearness Johnson, they stand to take some targets away from the wide receiver core. So hopefully there's plenty to go around. All right. So with that being said, who won? Who won? Who do you guys think won? Go ahead and post it in the comments real quick while I bring it up. Who do you predict won? We know what your opinions are, but who do you think won the poll on Twitter? All right, so here we go. Jarvis Landry wins the poll. He got 48% of the votes. Donovan Peoples-Jones got 17%. OBJ got 35%. And nobody voted for somebody else, which is fair. I mean, I think that these are clearly the top 3 wide receiver targets. Now, Norman, the run game will open up the play action pass. Absolutely. Absolutely. What I'm alluding to is what I want to see is I want to see us have so much success that there's no reason to pass, that we're just pounding the ball in the third and fourth quarter. We're maintaining our lead and chewing up that clock. That is the ideal scenario. That absolutely sets up the play action pass, though. And good teams will run up scores, and maybe we'll get a chance to do that. What a different era we're in right now, right? Like a year or two ago, we had some optimism, but when in the past 20 years have we ever been like, man, it'd be nice instead of, if we really just won the game, if we can just put a licking on somebody and put up 40, 50 points. That's going to be so fun. So fun. And I'm optimistic as well. I'm glad we're on the same page. And I hope everybody else is too. And, at the end of the day, this is a pass-happy league. But we certainly have Chubb and Hunt to take care of business. All right, so a couple things we want to get into tonight. Moving on from the weekly Twitter poll, and we have our first special guest. And I can't wait because I have so many questions for this guest. Hey, Liz, how's it going? Appreciate you joining the show. Man, Liz gets passionate about the wide receivers on a weekly basis, so maybe it's a good thing she didn't necessarily get to tune in for the wide receiver poll. Chubb Crunch. Oh, man. Has anybody gotten their hands on this? let me know in the comments if you gotten your hands on this. While you're doing that, I want to bring in friend of the show, the host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, contributor for the USA Today Browns Wire, our friend Brad Ward. How's it going, Brad?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
All right, awesome.
Great. All right, so we actually just did you catch the first part of the show, Brad, by chance?
I did, and I was scrambling. I got Andre Knott coming on tomorrow, so I was doing some show prep, and I saw your link, so I just hopped right on.
Outstanding. That'll be that. What a fun time that'll be with Andre Knott. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, he's coming over to Blue Wire to do a show of his own called Brownstown with Blue Wire, where he's going to cover the last 20 years and like all the crazy stories and blunders and all this stuff. So we're going to pump that a little bit and then talk some Browns.
Outstanding. All right, so here's what you missed, Brad, and we didn't completely segue out of this. So I love talking about this stuff with you. Twitter poll of the week: which wide receiver is going to finish with the most receiving yards this season? OBJ, Landry, DPJ, or someone else? Who do you think and why?
Landry. I think because he'll play the most. He'll be the Baker's number one target for the most games. So I think he goes over 1,000 yards this year. I think a big year from Landry. I'm not saying Beckham won't get there, but I think Landry will go further yardage-wise than Beckham. I think they could both go for 1,000 potentially, but I think Landry ends up with the most.
Norman, Arizona. I don't know if it's
Norman?
We have viewers in all time zones. We appreciate you joining the show, Norman. Liz, I was waiting for this. It's Higgins. We had 0% votes for other Liz. You could have been the one to stick up for your boy Hollywood. All right, so Brad, we always play this game. Who do you think won the poll? Who do you think was voted to have the most receiving yards this year?
OBJ.
All right. So OBJ came in second. Landry actually won the poll, and DPJ came in third. So I think we're all kind of on the same page. Absolutely. Red Leg, appreciate you joining the show. Chub Crunch is delicious. I can't wait to try it. I have to.
Good job,
where do I
Red
find
Leg.
this at?
Yeah, good job by Red Leg because I can't find it anywhere.
All right, man. I'm gonna have to buy it on eBay.
It's an awesome box, though, dude. Like Batman, like Chubb, Batman. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's going to, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is going to wake up with that image in their nightmares.
Right. Absolutely. And I have lots of goodies on my desk and in my area. Lots of memorabilia and just knickknacks. And I'd love to eat that cereal and put the box up on my shelf because it's a sweet-looking box. Heinen. I got to be honest. I'm not even familiar with Heinen. Is that a regional store? I mean, I'm not too far from Cleveland. I'm in Canton.
I don't know what Heinen is.
Kentucky. We're all just gonna have to eBay it. $3.99. Liz, you could probably mark this stuff up $10 a box and sell it on eBay.
It's not bad for cereal.
All right. Okay. All right. So, couple things I want to get into with you, Brad. I'm not sure how much time you have, but I'm excited you're on the show.
I'm yours. I'm here now. I'm here for a couple of minutes. You got me.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. So let's take a look at the preseason week 2 game. All right. There was some interesting things that happened. In this week has been an interesting week following the game. But I want to know what your impressions are of the guys that played in the game. Especially some of the guys like, some of the bubble players. Johnny Stanton, Dearness Johnson had some nice plays. Kadero Hodge had that nice snag. There were so many good plays, and we're not going to be able to keep all these guys. What were your thoughts on the way this game was played and how everybody performed?
Yeah, I mean, Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton and then John Kelly. Holy crap, right? John Kelly, the way he ran the football. And he's not like a guy, like a scrub off the street. I mean, he played some downs with somebody a couple of years ago. I don't know who it was, somebody. But he is, I thought the backs ran really well. I thought that at the beginning of this, I was kind of pumping that maybe Dearness Johnson is not needed on this roster. Do you remember me saying that a couple times?
Yeah,
Like,
we were having the Felton Johnson conversation.
right. Like, if Felton can run between the tackles, then do you need to keep Dearness Johnson? But I just think Felton is such a weapon, and Dearness Johnson is a big part of special teams so much, and he's a different style of runner. I think you keep them both in the end. But it's going to be tight, dude. Like, I've done this exercise probably 20 times, and I'm probably going to do it again tomorrow night on my show, is break down my 53. I have, like, an Excel sheet, and it's tough, man. There's some guys right on the bubble. Like, if you look, there's some really tough questions. Like, they have a problem at interior defensive line. Like, there are guys there, and especially with Malik McDowell's, like, flashing, like at the end of that game, like he did, 6 tackles and a sack. Nobody could stop him. Of course, against it was the threes, so you got to take that into consideration. But that guy's probably maybe the most talented guy in that room, like raw talent. Hasn't played in 3 years, but seems to have his head on straight. He gets on the field and explodes like that and flashes. I mean, what do you do? Because you have Togiai, who's an early round draft pick, like a 3rd round draft pick. You have Sheldon Day, who, in my opinion, already has a position locked up on the roster. He's your 3rd guy, in my opinion. So
And he started in a Super Bowl.
Right. And he's been terrific from day one of camp. So for me, it's Billings, Malik Jackson and Day are locked. But what do you do with Jordan Elliott, 3rd round pick? Tommy Togiai, this year's 3rd round pick. Malik McDowell flashing, and Marvin Wilson is not bad, but he just seems to be bringing up the rear. Can they keep 5? I almost think they have to keep 5 because you can't get rid of your 2 third-round draft picks. But then you're not keeping McDowell, who may be the best of them all. We just haven't had enough time to see him yet.
I want to circle back to the running backs, if you don't mind, Brad. And,
I'm sorry. I get off topic.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm looking at I just brought up today's new depth chart, so I was looking at it, and that's what made me go there. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We're allowed to go on tangents. I just wanted to rewind before I got distracted.
Sure.
Somebody said Redleg. He should be first string somewhere. Johnson. I think there's a role for him somewhere, if not here. Kelly was impressive, he says. Yeah, and there's a couple guys because I don't think you can keep Felton, Johnson, and Kelly. I think Johnson and Felton would be the premier 2 of the 3. If one of them were to not make the 53, if there's not room for all of them, do they have a role as a key contributor on another team? Are they that talented, or are we just excited to have a halfway decent 3rd and 4th string running back?
Dearness Johnson has a role, and you're certainly going to keep Felton before Johnson because Felton is a weapon and can do more. I think Felton isn't necessarily ahead of him in the depth chart, but like he's more valuable to the team, right? In the long term, like he to me he is like today's NFL prototype weapon, right? Like he's fast, he can play in the slot, you can get him the ball in all kinds of situations in space, he makes people miss, he does it all, right? Dearness Johnson is similar, but more of a better just back between the tackles. He also can catch the ball out of the backfield, but I mean they're both very good. I think they both end up making the roster because Dearness Johnson is a starter, and I paid attention to this stuff, but he is starting on all your special teams right now. So I don't think they cut him. I think he makes the team. But if they really had to find a place to slim somebody down, like he could catch on another team as a 2, or a 3, at least, or after, a couple weeks into the year, you're going to have a ton of injuries. Dearness Johnson could certainly catch on somewhere. But I think Felton is the priority there. He showed he can run between the tackles, but they're going to use him more as a wide receiver, I think.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that we're saying, and here it is, yeah, I was already kind of planning on getting into this, is utility is the key for some of these bubble players. When it comes to Felton and Johnson, look at Natson with the special teams wide receiver capability, some of the trickery. We saw him get a toss last week.
Yeah.
I know Natson's kind of further on the bubble than some of these other guys. Stanton playing multiple positions. A little bit of tight end utility, fullback, running back kind of thing.
Yeah, some H-back, right?
Does Stanton or Natson have any chance at all right now?
I don't think they do. Natson, no way. Stanton is very intriguing because you don't have your fourth tight end anymore, right? And he caught the ball he looked like a legit tight end. He ran a nice route over broke off the route, went up and caught the ball like a freaking tight end, man. It was incredible, right? And I was like, damn, this dude can do whatever they want him to do. Does he become your Kyle Juszczyk type weapon, right? That can catch the ball and block and do it all for you like they have out in San Francisco. I don't know. But it's not if you look at the depth chart today, Andy Janovich is the fullback on the depth chart. Johnny Stanton is backup fullback. I just don't know if it's enough to keep him around. I think he has to beat out Janovich. You can't keep both of them. You can't have Janovich and Stanton on the roster.
And I think Janovich is a little bit of a better talent, if you ask me.
He is. He's a better fullback. The problem is, I don't think you're going to – I think they wanted to – initially they were going to keep four tight ends with Carlson, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Carlson's out. Well, do you just not replace him? Or do you go, hey, we can keep Stanton. He can play fullback and he can play some fourth tight end for us.
Right. And that's where that utility comes in. So even if he's not as good of a fullback, by being – decent at a couple different things instead of really good at one thing, he could find a roster spot. I think he's an underdog in that battle with Janovich, but I guess I wouldn't be shocked if they went that way.
We'll see what happens. I don't think that is necessarily written in pen yet. I don't think the fullback fourth tight end decision is certainly cemented yet. Let's see what they do with Stanton. They may try to use him all over the place in Atlanta. Because I don't think they're going to play any starters.
Who are you looking for to return our punts this year? Presumably Natson's going to be off the team. Is this going to be a job for Felton?
I think you're looking at Felton, and I think Donovan Peoples-Jones has done it in the past with some success. You can call on, let's see, who else? Dearness Johnson has done it. If you look at right now they have Natson, Peoples-Jones, and Johnson as their punt returners. So Peoples-Jones, Johnson, and I think that you've seen also, as you already stated, I'm losing my mind here. You just said his name. Demetric Felton can do it too. Yeah.
Okay. Outstanding. Now, a couple other battles, so to speak. I want to get your opinion on while we're on the battles. So Cody Parkey goes to the IR. I believe it was a quad injury. Chase McLaughlin. Stefanski wasn't ready. The team's not ready to say McLaughlin's got the job, that they won't bring somebody in to compete with him. Do you think we'll see competition this late in the preseason?
I was looking at the list last night. There are some guys out there. There's always a kicker list, right, guys? And they just cut a bunch of guys today. The cut to 80, there was 5 pretty good kickers that got cut today. Yeah. So I expect him maybe to bring somebody in and make him earn it. But I think it would take somebody to come in and really do something, and him to really get the yips, I think, to lose the job at this point. Because in my opinion, he's done a pretty damn good job. I had him ahead of Parkey anyways, to be honest. I think he kicks a better ball than Parkey. People that I've talked to said it just comes off his foot better, stronger, bigger leg, for sure. Him making that 48, 49-yarder into the dog pound was pretty important, I think, on Sunday. First Energy is a kicker's nightmare. Is that an old telephone? Is that like a 1980s rotary telephone I hear?
No, that's my cell phone, not on silent.
Okay.
It can't sound like all the other iPhones.
Okay.
It's didn't silence my phone. I muted myself at the beginning of the video. It's one of those days, I think. But we're having fun now. That's all. Is it
McLaughlin or McLaughlin? I started calling him McFly. Like McFly.
I like it.
McFly wins the kicking battle.
We can try to coin that. Everybody that's watching, let's start working on that.
Yeah, Marty McFly.
There we go.
Is our kicker.
All right, so we've also had the conversation about the bubble wide receivers in the past because we're looking at OBJ, Landry, DPJ, Rashard Higgins, Anthony Schwartz, and now we have guys that are trying to really make a push, and that's Davian Davis and Kadero Hodge. Now, Davian Davis, he's suspended for the first 2 weeks. That's got to hurt his chances as well as he's been playing. Kadero Hodge, though, what a snag he had. That was an outstanding snag he had in this past week. Are we going to see either of these guys on the 53?
I think Hodge is on the 53. I wanted Davion Davis to beat him out. I think that last spot comes down to Hodge and Davis. I don't know how they're going to handle the Schwartz thing. All along, I've just been continuing to put him in my 53. But at what point do you say, this dude isn't even going to be able to play, man? Like, what the hell's going on, right? Like, I mean, at what point do you just put him on the IR or something, right? But he's got to make the initial 53 to be able to come back at some point. So I'm giving him a spot right now, right? Let's see.
It's hard to walk away from the investment in him, right?
That's what it is.
He's not
the
a
draft
pick.
Yeah, exactly. And the speed and the investment, but he seems like a very delicate flower at this point.
So for those of you watching that may not know, Brad just alluded to, in order to go on IR and be eligible to return later in the season, you have to make the initial 53. Now, if the intention is to put him on IR and bring him back later, you risk losing Hodge or Davis or whoever it is that you're throwing on or attempting to put on the practice squad, or, they could go elsewhere. So it's a gamble, and it'll be interesting because while it's not a QB1 decision or a first-round draft pick decision, this probably is – we're getting to the point where this front office and the coaching staff they have to nail these kind of micro decisions properly, because these are the important things that matter when our entire wide receiver core is out with COVID and we're playing the Jets at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully not that situation. But more so this year because, like, the guys we're talking about, other teams are going to want, and they have to clear that 24-hour waivers to get back on our practice squad. So that 24 hours, I mean, if you're JoJo Natson may get picked up, If you decide not to keep Stanton, somebody may say, hey, I like him, I want him. Certainly our offensive linemen that don't make the initial 53 are going to get picked up by somebody because they're coached by the best offensive line coach, and the Browns probably have about 13 guys that could be on a roster someplace else in the NFL that can play. I mean, this offensive line is like third-string offensive line guys here could play elsewhere. There's like 6 or 7 guards.
The Texans already have like 13 former Browns on their roster. They could use a few more. All right. So as a fan base, we can't get away from quarterback battles, right? This is a different kind of one, though. And this is something that's picked. Yeah.
Before you go on, let's finish the wide receiver. So I wanted Davion Davis to beat Hodge out.
Yeah.
Because I love Davis. I think he's great. So last week in practice, we got word that he was getting reps with the ones in the middle of the week, like Wednesday. So I'm thinking, okay, Davis has a legit chance because Hodges looked like crap so far. He dropped that pass in the first game against Jacksonville right in his hands on the goal line. Davis made incredible plays. I'm like, Davis could beat him out at this point, right? Got to remember the staff loves them some Hodge because he can block, he's fast, and he can play special teams. He does all three very well. He's a very well-rounded football player.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. 100%.
But Davis flashes more as a pure receiver, I think. And I was hoping that Davis would beat him out, but then when they came to the game time, show your true colors, where do you stand, they didn't even play Davis until the second half, and Hodge had already caught a touchdown pass. So I'm like, that decision is over. However, Davis, and not that I agree with the NFL going all the way back to October 2019 to suspend a guy for a DWI that got knocked down to reckless driving, and they're going to suspend him for 2 games. I mean, dude, with the pandemic, October 2019, that was like a lifetime ago, bro.
Yeah,
like,
and
I've lived like 10 years in that amount of time. And so how are you going to punish him for that? That's absurd, I think. Anyways, it actually helps him because they can keep him around. He doesn't have to be on the 53. That's my understanding, is that he will not have to go on waivers. You can just keep him around because of the suspension, and he's not on your 53.
Right.
So I think it helps him.
That could help us in a way.
Yes. Yeah, it helps him, helps us. He's still going to have to clear waivers eventually, but I think I read that from Darryl Ryder, that it would allow him to be in the building and practice and do all those things, but not be part of the 53-man roster, not have to clear waivers and all that until his suspension is over.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Interesting tidbit there.
It is. And as I was alluding to before, we can't stay away from the QB competition thing because this week the talk of Browns Twitter and the local and regional medias is that we have a quarterback competition at number 2. And I understand the sentiment. I understand the allure there because Kyle Lauletta, I can't say his name. It's just not in my words. But Kyle has played pretty well, with the exception of not being able to hold on to the football last week, which is, I don't know. He probably should have went out of bounds there anyways, but he's fighting for a job. You have Case Keenum, who is the tried and true. He's got starts under him. He's got playoffs under him. He's got the experience and a connection with Stefanski. Is this even something worth discussing? Because everybody wants to talk about it on social media this week.
It was put really well by, I had Ellis Williams on my show, and we started talking about this. And he said Tom Moore was the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning with the Colts. And they asked him once, why don't you ever give any reps to your second-string guy or ever bring in like a veteran in case Peyton gets hurt? He said, because if 18 goes down, we're fucked, and we don't practice fucked.
There you go. I like it.
My reply to that is, if 6 goes down, no, I'm just kidding. I actually think Keenum could win a couple games. I don't think it's worth talking about. Kyle Lauletta has played well, but he is no Case Keenum.
All right. I'm going to go to the City Dogs of Cleveland Dog of the Week. Do you have a few minutes to stick around, Brad?
Of course.
All right. So we are going to talk Dogs of the Week. Let's go. All right, so this is a relatively new segment. It's the City Dogs of Cleveland Dogs of the Week. And here's what we're going to do every week. First of all, we're going to talk about an adoptable dog by City Dogs of Cleveland. And they're a great charity and a great organization that we actually teamed up with and got connected with through some tailgating and some fan meetups, which is awesome. Not only that, but we are going to every week give an offensive dog of the week and a defensive dog of the week for your Cleveland Browns. And here we go. Let's talk about City Dogs of Cleveland. And by the way, Section 121 by the Dog Pound, if you go to their concession stand at First Energy Stadium, the proceeds from your sales for the same goodies that you're going to get from the other ones, they go to the City Dogs of Cleveland to help dogs in need. Here is this week's Dog of the Week. It is Kavan. He's a male, 58 pounds. He's almost 3 years old. And there's an awesome picture of him there. He's playful, sweet, and snuggly. He's friendly and smart. He knows to sit and down, and he's working on some other things too. He loves toys. He's a good walking partner, likes to sniff and explore. He's good in the car, loves the wind in his fur, and he seems to be housebroken good. So this is Kavan, and you can see another photo of him here, and
Wow.
you can adopt him. And all you have to do is get a hold of City Dogs of Cleveland to find out if this is a match made in heaven. And he is our dog of the week. Here is the contact information. City Dogs of Cleveland. You can find them on Twitter at CityDogsCLE and on Facebook at City Dogs Cleveland. And there's the number, 216-664-3476. I got to remember to read these things out loud now, because just so you guys know, if you haven't figured it out, we are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and those things for our audio replay. But there you go. Kavan, what a good-looking dog there. Check them out. And there is actually, if you go to their website or their social media profiles, if you're not in the area and can't adopt but you wish to help, there are links to donate there. So that's our City Dogs Dog of the Week. And Offensive Dog of the Week. Who do you got? Who's your offensive MVP and offensive guy you really like, Brad, from this past week? Who's the guy?
Well, I'm going to base it off the game, right? So if I base it off the game, I think the offensive dog of the week, even though he won't be here for long, I think it's John Kelly. And the defensive dog of the week, or are you going to pick the defensive dog?
I'd like to throw out there, I really liked what Kadero Hodge did. That snag did it for me. I can't get it out of my mind. He's my offensive dog of the week. I'll go first. Defense. We haven't really talked defense yet. I'd like to get into some of those things.
Yeah.
But my defensive dog of the week, I'd like to go first, is Malik McDowell. I thought he had an outstanding game. You'll love to see it. Are you in agreement, or do you have somebody else?
Oh, I love it. I would give it to him, but since we have the opportunity to give it to somebody else too,
Sure.
we might as well give it to Richie LeCount as well, because I just think
Oh, man, yeah.
I like Richie. I like Richie's game. I like his style. He flies around. He's got really good range. You know, it's interesting. He ran such a slow 40 time that's why he kind of dropped. You know, he was first string SEC or whatever. But it's interesting that he got in a bike accident and he had to recover from all that and everything, and that was kind of like people were looking for that 40 time pretty closely on him, like, hey, is he recovered? Well, the Browns had paid attention to what they're now using, that GPA or GPS data, GPA, grade point average, GPS data on him in college, and that'll give you true speed in pads on the field, like legit. Doesn't matter what he runs in straight away, but his GPS data is like out of this world. And you see it now when he's in pads on the field. He's flying all over the place, right? So I think that's really interesting and has helped, obviously the Browns front office is looking the right places for this information and finding guys in the later rounds of the draft that look like steals for sure. If you look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, Demetric Felton, now, LeCount even too. So,
yeah, and I thought it was interesting because John Johnson talked about this. All right, so he was asked about Richie, and he said, and the players, of course, love to hype up their teammates, especially the guys they're taking up under their wings. But this wasn't kind of like one of those like kind of white lie hype up type players speak kind of things. What he said kind of caught my attention, and he said, this guy is making plays that somebody with his experience should not be able to make. Guys with his experience should not be able to do, and those are some big words from a very talented guy that's clearly knows what he's doing. So that's encouraging. Does he make the team?
Yeah,
he does.
I think he's there for safety.
All right, who's out then? We have so we're gonna have Delpit, right?
Well, I think they have the potential to carry 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. They're going to keep 10 defensive backs, but I think that it's between him and Javonte Moffett, I think. I mean, I know they think they like red wine, but, I mean, he hasn't played it down, right? I mean, so...
Redwine has had some time to kind of come on. I mean, I know it's a process for these guys, but he's been here, what? How many...
This will be his third year.
Third year? I mean, he's gotten on the field. He's gotten some playing time under his belt, But Javonte Moffitt, he was an interesting prospect coming in, but we haven't seen nearly as much of him.
Yeah, it's been Moffitt and LeCount in both of the preseason games pretty much the whole time, right?
Yeah.
I just think LeCount has more upside, and I think he showed in the 2 games that if you had to go to him, he can do it. And I think with that in mind, I think he'll be the 4th guy. If they keep 5, I think it's him and Moffitt. I've never been a red wine fan personally.
Okay, fair enough. More so than Sendejo, though, right? At least he's got the regular hair.
They're buddies, in my opinion. They can hang out together there, and it's.
JOK, he's going to be out for a couple weeks. We're probably not going to see him again in the preseason. He needed stitches in his forehead due to a weightlifting accident in the weight room.
Yeah.
Stefanski declined to elaborate on it. It kind of felt like he wanted to, but he definitely didn't. He definitely didn't elaborate on it, so that's something to watch out for. But we already know what he's going to bring to the table. We have some good tape on him. Another defensive update, Tack McKinley is back in the building. We've actually been avoiding talking about Tack a little bit because he left with an illness and it was way too quiet, and we didn't want to touch on anything that might be, touchy subject. So,
if you read my article yesterday that I wrote yesterday at the Browns Wire, you say the Browns Wire.
Yep.
I did the very first section of my article. It was roster considerations, right? And the very first one was about the edge rushers room and the roster and everything. And I wrote how I thought the tone had changed around the return of Tack McKinley, in that I thought that Stefanski sounded more optimistic, and on my show, Nathan Zagura told me that he thought he was very optimistic and thought he would be back sooner or later. That's the article right there in the first paragraph. And then turned around, and I'll be damned, today he's in the building. How about that?
Nathan Zagura, man, he's a guy that I feel like I would just have a blast talking to. Was that fun?
Yeah, it's the second time I've had him on, but this time he was like, I'm driving. I got a hold of him, and I was like, bro, I just need 10 minutes. It was right after the Jacob Phillips injury, and he was like, I'll call you on my way into Berea, because it was day 2 of the Giants thing, right? And so he just called me and just talked to me on his drive into work, which was awesome. But he was at that time had told me he was really optimistic about McKinley coming back, and I'm going, I thought that same thing about. I'm thinking as I'm writing the article, I'm thinking, Stefanski's kind of changed his tune about him too. Like, he said no timetable before, and now he's saying sooner than later. So I'm like, these guys are talking a little different about it. And so that's what I wrote in the article, that I thought the tone changed, and he's here today. So how about that? And that's huge for the Browns, because you can't replace Tack McKinley as your 3rd edge, right? Like, Porter Gustin's great as a 4th edge, but as your 3rd edge, I don't think he cuts it. And Clowney could get dinged at any moment. And then you're looking at, not being able to generate a pass rush, anymore, because you can double team Miles, right? But McKinley being there as your 3rd guy, he's a guy that can win one-on-one. And anybody that can win one-on-one on the edge is already on a roster, and they're not letting him go. There's only so many guys that can do what Tack McKinley can do athletically. And so I think that having him back is absolutely huge. And more importantly, that he's, in a place mentally, his mental health is in order and everything, that he feels good coming back into the team. That's the first. Let me preface everything with that.
Yeah.
Because when they throw the personal tag on it, and we know he didn't have COVID, and we know it wasn't an injury, and we know he has a history of mental illness, then your thoughts go out for him, right? You're like, all right, let's hope he's okay. But to have him back, that's awesome. And so I guess he's been around the building since last week, and nobody said anything till today.
Tight-lipped on that. Norman, in case you missed it, JOK seems to be okay, but he did have to get some stitches. on his forehead, so that's a week or two.
I don't think I'm okay with. They're going to need to play him a ton now, I think, anyway. So bubble wrap him, just have him ready for the 12th.
So speaking of bubble wrap, we have one more preseason game. And, Stefanski got a little aggressive, I think, in his press conference today. Passive aggressive, like he does with Tony, because Tony wanted to know if the starters were playing.
Tony pushes too hard, man.
Tony knows how to push some buttons. With that being said, Stefanski said, "I'm not going to talk about it until I talk about it with the players." And we saw he's not afraid to play a starter for punishment. We saw Troy Hill play because he got punished for fighting Sterling Shepard in camp.
Yeah, I thought that was rather foolish that they made him play because of that, but that's okay.
Yeah, and these guys all have different ways of punishments. Who else got punished with playing time? Was that Johnny Football?
I don't remember.
They gassed him out or something like that.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? Oh, so are we going to see the starters? I mean, do we get one series, two? I mean, if you had to speculate.
Big said he wants to play, right? He was like, he was joking around how he was going to start a fight so that he could play, remember?
Yeah, I saw that quote was all over social media, and he says, Coach told me that if I start a fight, I'm going to play in the preseason. So I'm about to go start a fight.
He said he's going to go find Saquon.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he's hilarious, but they've been up there at the stadium working on his new commercials, so I'm looking for those soon too. I heard that somebody say that, the progressive ones. Anyways, I wouldn't play him. I mean, okay, here's why. If it was a normal year and you had the game was next week after you played, then I would let him get like a series. To get his rhythm back. But what good does it do to give him a series or two when you have 2 weeks till you play again?
Is this a conversation? Is this a conversation though that does our first opponent have anything to do with this decision? We were out for blood.
No.
For week 1, we were out for blood. This is a revenge game against the Chiefs.
Is it really though? Okay, that's what we as fans say. But internally, I think this is the best time you could play the Chiefs. Because if you lose, it's like it's the Chiefs, right?
Right.
If you look like crap, it's week 1 and it's against the Chiefs. Okay, right? It's going to take time for this defense to come together because of the rash of hamstring injuries that they've been hit with. They haven't played hardly any of the defense together all of training camp. So it's going to take time, right? But on that side of the ball, like the Chiefs are going to play Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
And like you shouldn't pay any in their preseason game. You shouldn't pay any attention to that. I just think they have enough injuries on their hands right now, and they're dealing with enough of the soft tissue stuff. The risk is not worth the reward. I think that Stefanski has gotten really good work for Baker against the Giants in those practices, and I think he knows how to get his work done without putting those guys in a game, and I don't think the risk is worth it. Because look at some of the injuries we're seeing around the NFL now. Travis Etienne out for who knows the season. I mean, every preseason game there's an injury that takes somebody out for the season. The Browns can't afford that.
I do think that this is I agree with you, and so does Norman, that this is the best time to play the Chiefs. But every year you're going to play a certain number of good teams where it's going to be, I mean, let's simplify this down to like explain like I'm a 5th grader, and I'm thinking out loud here. We're playing one of the best teams in the league, and you're going to get a couple of those every year, and then you're going to have a couple every year where they're kind of a gimme in a way.
Yeah.
You still have to fight for it. And then you have the ones the ball can bounce either way. To me, getting one of those ultra competitive, most difficult opponents out of the way with a W at the beginning of the season is, I think, really important. I think it's really important. I think it would do wonders for this team. And you look at the personalities of guys like OBJ and Landry and Baker, and to have that confidence coming off of a Chiefs win week 1, I think that with their passion and their confidence, it would be really good moving forward. Now, I know that not everybody accredits those type of bulletin board type things to success, but that's just my 2 cents if I'm thinking out loud. Tim says 100% revenge game. Crazy to think those guys are not wanting to light them up and show dominance.
The players for sure are going to be fired up to play that game and everything. I guess my point is, does playing these guys against Atlanta for 6 minutes or for a series, does that really make a difference against the Chiefs?
That's the question I was going to pose was, are we in a better position to play the Chiefs with?
I thought we learned last year that it doesn't really matter.
Sure. Fair. That's completely fair. Some of it, I think there might be a little bit of a difference with the continuity because some of it might be rhythm or just getting back into, we got to remember these guys are practicing almost every day, so it's not like they're, with their teammates and gelling together in practice, but important from a mental standpoint and playoff seeding. I would agree if we go in and get a W, that could be important. BJ, every week. Let me post that for you. I'm not mad. I'm just saying.
I'm always asking for it too, so I'm guilty of the same thing, BJ. But yeah, I guess I trust Stefanski to do whatever he decides to do. I'm not like gung ho about like getting him in. I think he probably got some really good work against the Giants for those 2 days, in against another team in a game type scenario. And I just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference to get. They're for sure not going to put Beckham in.
Right.
We know that now.
Yeah.
So Beckham is not going to play any preseason games. So then why do you need to play Baker? Because the only connection I'm worried about or have any question about is Baker and OBJ. So now, if they're not going to play together, then I'm not worried about it.
A couple weeks ago, you really felt strongly that we need Greedy Williams to get some hits in, to get some playing time in, make sure he's going to hold up. How much playing time would you like to see Greedy see?
Well, he's been playing every preseason game.
Sure, but is he one of the guys with bubble wrap, or do you want him to keep going?
No.
All right.
Can play. Like the young guys can play. Like so, I'm saying, Miles, Denzel, OBJ, Jarvis, Baker, Chubb, Kareem Hunt, those guys are not playing. Sorry. Skill position players are not playing. Whole starting offensive line, no way somebody's rolling up on my offensive line in a preseason game.
All right.
They're going to be ready to play the Chiefs. You want to play the Chiefs and have a chance to beat them, they need to be fully healthy.
All right. I have no idea what's about to happen here. I already had to change his screen name before bringing him in because it wasn't appropriate. BJ, otherwise known as Barry, what is on your head?
That's my mask that way for COVID.
It's doing some good right there. How's it going? What did you think of this past week's game, or what are you looking forward going to the next one?
I don't know.
If I can take you seriously right now.
Hey, I'm having a bad hair day.
You're looking good, Barry.
Thanks. I didn't watch the game. Remember, I had that fundraiser.
That's right. You were on your poker run.
I know nothing what happened. Who won?
The Browns won.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So
I want to talk about Cody Parkey.
Okay, here we go. All right. I knew there was something you want to talk about. Yeah.
1 second. Before Barry goes off on Parkey, I just want to say to everybody in the chat that seems to disagree with me on this, all right? Like, I totally get it. The players want to get their rust off and they want to play for a series or whatever and all that. And Tim, I totally understand. And if they try to if they try to get themselves in the game, they're not. I get all of that. I just trust Stefanski to make the decision, and I honestly think Stefanski is going to opt not to play them because I think he trusts his process more than putting them out there against Atlanta where something disastrous can happen. Like, don't leave yourself open to that disaster, please, in a game that doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. Like, just don't leave yourself open to a injury that could ruin such a promising year. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, she's got our Browns gear on back in the background. That's supposed to be brown and orange. Is that black and orange?
No. Oh, it is black and orange.
I'm just messing with her. I love it. No, I'm with you, Brad, and I'm indifferent on this. The reasons I want to see the starters play are completely selfish for me, because I just want to see them play because I can't wait until week 1 to see them play in my mind. I completely understand both sides of the argument. I would neither be upset if they didn't play or if they did play. My lovely wife is chiming in. As much as we want to see them play, I don't feel it's worth what could happen.
That's a lie. She's not lovely.
So, she is lovely. She's lovely.
She's a smart lady right there.
She's a classy lady, BJ.
Well, she's a classy lady and a smart lady.
Right.
She nailed it on the head right there.
Rude, and she's a pain in the ass.
Hey, man, you're talking about the guy's wife.
That's a sister.
Oh. Oh.
He gets away with that all the time. He doesn't.
Well, I guess you're allowed then.
We'll be sitting, Brad. We'll be sitting at the bar, and he'll like look at me on his right side and start talking.
So that's your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
All right.
So he'll start talking trash about my wife in front of people we don't know at the bar to get their reaction. And usually the people are like, "Are you going to say something to him?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I can't."
Much like my reaction.
It's like, it's a sister. I can't. Man, it's a two-way street. She gets them good too. So, all right. So we have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Brad, aside from what we've talked about, is there anything you'd like to bring to the table?
No. I want to hear what Barry has to say about Parkey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What's our contingency plan?
We already have it. Chase McLaughlin.
McFly.
McFly. That's right, McFly. We need to start a McFly hashtag on Brown's Twitter that's going to go around, and we'll cheer him on, get him some confidence so that he doesn't double doink anything.
I think they'll bring in another kicker too, Barry, but I just think that the guy he's kicked well all camp.
Cybert's available.
Who?
Cybert's available.
Cybert?
Yeah. A couple good kickers available, and I know that it's hard to think about this, but I retweeted a tweet today. The Ravens have 2 of probably the best kickers in the NFL. Their backup kicker is an absolute hammer, and if you wanted to try to trade with them, I doubt they'd trade them to us, though.
Yeah. A lot of our games have come down to a field goal. It went their way.
Yeah.
But, all right, so, I think Phil Dawson deserves a Super Bowl ring. Think he can lace him up for one more year? That'd be awesome.
I told you, sign him and let him kick anything under 35.
Right, let him kick the extra points.
He won't
get that man a Super Bowl ring for what he did with Cleveland.
Exactly.
Once he got going again, he'd be like, "All right, screw it, just give them all to me." I guarantee it.
Honestly, you think he still has a leg to kick the long ones?
What's that?
I don't know.
I mean, 40, 45 maybe. I mean, he was never really any good over 50.
Yeah. I mean, that was always a mixture of strength and the weather up here.
Yeah.
What do you want him? Do you want him to bring Cybert back, Barry?
Oh, I don't have an opinion. I'm just here for your entertainment.
Here's what my opinion on the kickers, right? Like, I want a kicker that makes the kicks that he's supposed to make. I don't really care otherwise, right?
What round would you draft a kicker in a 12-team fantasy draft?
I don't like drafting kickers till 12.
So, I
11.
have a rule that I draft every year. My rule in fantasy is I draft a defense with my second to last pick and a kicker with my very last pick.
Yeah.
I will take the best kicker that plays for an indoor team normally. In defense, it just depends on who's there.
Are you in my fantasy league, Craig?
Which
Barry?
one?
The podcast versus podcast league?
Yeah, with the Cheap Seats boys, right?
I don't know. Are you?
I believe so. Fatty's in there. I'm in there. French is in there. Um,
It's all podcasts.
it's all podcasts. Hosts and co-hosts are the division names, and yeah,
What?
I believe so.
No,
yeah.
that's not it.
Okay.
It's the one that I run. Well, you need to come in this year. We're doing
All right.
the super flex
Okay.
scoring.
Yeah.
So you add the super flex and get rid of the defense and kicker.
So my brother French was drafting, and he took a kicker way too early, to the point where the sleeper app literally had a sound effect, and all of a sudden he clicks kicker in like the 8th round, and it goes, what the? And we just started rolling, and we've been roasting him. So I hope he's watching.
Craig, you're out.
What's
That's
that?
awesome.
You're out of time.
You're out of time. You're out of time. You're out of time.
I'm out.
Are you on a strict time limit?
No, it's just a general rule of thumb, about an hour. But I agree with you, Chris. Last round, and man, fantasy. I love fantasy football. I wish. See, one of the tough things about being a Browns fan is, number one, when it comes to gambling or betting, I don't like to gamble or bet with my heart. So I normally shy clear of anything to do with the Browns related. I don't care how sure I am. There's some influence there. Number 2, fantasy. There's too many places for the ball to go. Outside of maybe Nick Chubb at running back, I'm not really touching anything unless our defense catches fire. Unless our defense catches fire this year.
I like Njoku, and if you played any best ball yet.
No.
Do you know what best ball is?
Yeah. So normally I'm in some redraft leagues. I'm in a dynasty league, and I do a lot of DFS, primarily FanDuel.
Me too. I do. You FanDuel? I'm a DraftKings guy.
Okay. It's an interface thing. I don't like or dislike either company or whatever it is, but the app and the website and things like that. For some reason, DraftKings just, I don't know if the UI just isn't visually appealing to me or something, but the FanDuel
You gotta put it on dark mode.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I got to try it again. I wish they were both a little more like each other. I get so focused and so in depth that I tend to just look one direction. I use DraftKings data to select players to find discrepancies proportionally in salaries to see if I can get a clue as to what Vegas is thinking.
Right.
Things like that.
I do too, but I don't like FanDuel's interface, and I like DraftKings interface, and I don't like FanDuel scoring. So NBA, it's like 60,000 instead of 50,000, so the scoring's a little off. And I think that DraftKings is a little sharper in adjusting their scoring on a daily basis. So, and I play a lot of NBA, so that's kind of why I stay with DraftKings. But so that makes sense.
I used to do a lot of NBA, but I don't have the time to do it anymore because I can't just kind of do it casually.
Yeah.
And while baseball is probably the most mathematically predictable sport, and if you look at baseball, mathematicians are going to win all kinds of money playing DFS for baseball. Football is probably the biggest gamble between the three. NBA is kind of right there in the middle where you can really get an edge. And if you know what you're doing, you can win a lot of money, but it's definitely a wormhole that sucks all your time and energy.
It does. I hit big a couple times though, so it's been worth my while.
Good. Glad to hear it. But maybe we'll have to get in some one-on-one FanDuel contests this year. We'll bet $1.
Let's dance,
something,
brother.
Yeah. But all right. So unless anybody else has something they want to comment that they want to hear us talk about, we'll kind of close out the show.
Tim is asking about a veteran kicker.
Oh yes, that's right. Sorry, Tim. I almost forgot. All right. Would you bring in an old vet kicker? I'm going to actually look this up, so don't mind me if I'm not staring at my camera, but I want to see who's out there because I didn't even pull up the list.
Too. Available kickers. Go to Spot Track, has the free agent tracker available. Update. Dan Bailey, Steven Gostkowski, 37 years old. Eddie Pinheiro guy from Indy, he just got cut like a day ago. He's 26. I guess he's pretty good. Austin McGinnis. I don't know a lot of these guys.
Aguayo, is his career done for? You think?
I don't know. New England, I think he just got cut.
I mean, what a draft pick that was for Tampa Bay. Like, that was just one of the worst, probably one of the worst draft picks in NFL history.
Dan Bailey's only 33.
Yeah, and I mean, he's had a pretty good career, I think.
I do too. I mean, he's steady, right? And then I think the other guy maybe to keep an eye on is this Pinheiro guy. I heard him mentioned today by somebody that he's pretty good. Only 26. Let's see.
You know, a lot of these guys, I mean, some of these guys we have experience with. Matt McCrane, he's been in Cleveland. You know, but I guess old vet, old or vets, or one or the other, I guess.
Gostkowski.
He's
I mean, 37.
He knows how to kick in the cold. But to answer,
I think McLaughlin's going to be the guy, man.
I have a feeling, and it's not. I mean, the way it's been the past few years, there's a good chance we could see any one of these guys halfway through the season. Hopefully that's not the case, but there's always a chance. To answer Tim, only Dawson. Tim's curious because Gostkowski and Bailey have been successful in their careers. They've been around. They have. But at this point, whatever they're dealing with or whatever they're trending downwards to the point where they're not on a team, even competing for a job.
Not even in a competition.
Yeah, so you got to wonder what it is. And I think kicker probably has to be one of the toughest positions in the NFL mentally, because the sports psychology behind kickers is probably
it's like golf.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because they're not on the field for every play, their performance for even if they get on the field one time in a game could be the difference between a win and a loss. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of standing around thinking about it. You miss it and you lose the game that the other 52 guys on your team worked so hard, you know, to get to that point, and then they left it up to you and you missed a field goal. Think about the psychological effect there. So I think that some of these guys may just be spun out mentally, not from like a mental health standpoint, but from a kick it through the upright standpoint. Does that make sense?
Done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You could get burned out on that, I think.
And you see it with quarterbacks, or you know, those are probably the two most common positions where that would be a factor. But there is the stress of being a kicker. The best job in the NFL is probably backup quarterback. Everybody wants you in most situations, and you make pretty good money.
You can make a lot of money doing that.
Heck yeah. All right. So with that, we are going to close out today's show. I had a blast, Brad. Thanks for coming on. We even went a little bit over, and I'm happy about it because I had fun. Hopefully you guys had fun watching. You can find us on YouTube at the Dawgs Table, on Twitter and Facebook at Dawgs Table. We're part of the Big Play Network. Find us everywhere the Big Play Network is. And we are now on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. You can find us on Overcast, all the podcast places if you want the audio replay to listen in your car, if you can't watch the show. Our episodes are posted automatically to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on all the channels we're broadcast on, so that you can watch the replay if you miss all or part of the show. The other thing I want to talk about is hopefully we'll be doing more live shows. We appreciate you if you joined us last week. We were live at the Brick House in Sebring, Ohio. We're not anywhere near Cleveland, but we actually had fans come out to talk with us and talk Browns and watch the show, and it was an awesome experience. We are having some growing pains with our live audio, so please excuse the live audio. It wasn't perfect. Chris Spann, I checked into the Facebook polls. As far as when I tried to post one on our page, there is no poll option. There's only polls in Messenger, from what I understand, and I don't even know how we would get that to work. So, Chris, you got to get on Twitter. Follow at Ward on Sports and at Craig A. Fountain. Those are your first two follows. And then you can follow Fatty. You know, That other guy, that fat guy.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, thanks everybody for joining the show. Brad, appreciate you coming on. Love having you on. Great to have you. And until next time, go Browns.